I love baseball cards. Got 'em, need 'em, got 'em, need 'em, need 'em, need 'em, got 'em, need 'em.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Remember the Great Sports, Flea Market Antique Mall pickups. I picked up a few things, baseball card related, or football cards actually as well, and just wanted to share those with you, see what you guys think. Now, this first item, when I saw this sitting on the shelf, it just shot me back to my 11, 12-year-old childhood when I saw these. And if anybody has been around in the hobby since the early 90s, almost all of you can remember these micro baseball cards. Now, I haven't done too much research on these, but I think they only did 2 years worth of these, 1991 and 92. I seem to remember Cracker Jack having these as well. You would buy a pack of Cracker Jacks and you'd be able to pull, a micro card out of, your Cracker Jack. I want to say they were Donruss also. I want to say Donruss also did the micro Cracker Jack cards. Again, I'd have to do a little bit more research on these, but I just want to talk about, finding it in the antique mall. This was just sitting on a shelf all by itself, and it had a price tag for $3 on it. And I'm probably not going to open this, only because I foresee myself losing losing these if I did open them. I can't even keep track of full-size cards, much less micro cards. So I did not have this 1992 version, but I did already have this in my collection, and this is the 91 version of the set. I picked this up for a couple bucks a few years back, and now I have both of them in my collection. So this is pretty nice to add these to the collection. If you guys recall, in the early 90s, I think Topps was trying to figure out different markets and different ways to sell cards, and these micro baseball cards took off for a little while, but they really weren't too appealing to collectors. After looking up a little bit, there are 12 micro gold cards that are included in the 92 set. I'm pretty sure the 91 set is just the base 792 cards, but micro. But the set includes these 12 mini gold cards, and you can see the Nolan Ryan there on the box. And I looked up the Nolan Ryan, and that was like $3 by itself. So I thought paying $3 for the whole box of them plus the 12 micro gold cards enclosed was a pretty fair deal. And like I said, I'm not going to ever probably open these, only because I would wind up losing them more than anything. So very happy to add those to the collection. Pretty cool addition. The 92s, like I said, I had the 91s for quite a while. I might actually have another one of these 91s laying around somewhere in my room, but pretty cool. So the next thing that I found, and these were only $2 a piece, and I'm not gonna open them today. I might save that for another video, but they are the Collector's Choice You Crashed the Game redemption cards, and I found the bronze version and the gold version. Now, again, if you're a collector in the 90s, you know exactly what these are. These were randomly inserted into packs. I'm not sure what year these are. Looks like 94. Hard to tell, the print's really tiny. But in most of the products that Upper Deck created with Collector's Choice, they included these You Crashed the Game cards, and the cards on the back are a little different than the redemption, but basically the gist of the game was if your athlete performed at a certain level, like in baseball if they got a home run, or as a pitcher they might have got a win, where in this case probably scored a touchdown, or threw a touchdown, or did an interception, or had a quarterback sack on a specific date on that card, you could send that card in to redeem for the entire set. So if Steve Young threw a touchdown pass on whatever date it said on the back of that card, and there might have been multiple dates, then you could mail that card in and you would put your name, you know, your address, and you would get this back in the mail. And this would be the set that you would get back. And depending on what you pulled, whether it was the gold, the silver, or the bronze version, that would be the set that you receive. So I found these in a case. They're only $2 a piece. I thought for $2 a piece, why not? I looked up the checklist a little bit, and it's chock full of Hall of Famers, you know, everywhere from Joe Montana, Steve Young, Jerry Rice, you know, on down the list. Again, I'm thinking of maybe opening one of these up, but I'll probably save that for another video and just kind of do a full set review after I get a little more knowledge base about the cards and about them. But I remember getting one of these, you know, way back when, and the unique thing about these Crash the Game cards, whether you had baseball, basketball, football, hockey, whatever, was that other than reading the newspaper the next day or watching sports, you would have no idea. It's not like today where you can just pull it up on your phone and almost have it instantly right in front of you. You had to wait a full day to find out whether or not you could redeem these. So being somebody that didn't have the internet at the time, not in '94, and didn't have access to that other than going to school and hoping you could read the newspaper in the library, I didn't even send these in because it was too much trouble for a 13-year-old to try to deal with this. So over time, when I see these in antique malls and card shops, I see them for a couple bucks. I just grab them because they bring back that nostalgia of the the mid '90s or the early '90s, busting open those Upper Deck Collector's Choice packs and getting one of these Crash the Game cards, and you're like, whoa, what is this? This is kind of cool. This is neat. And I have some Crash the Game cards that were never redeemed. Like I know I have the David Robinson ones because he's my favorite player. So very happy to add these to the collection. If you guys remember these, definitely put some comments down there at the bottom because I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about these Crash the Game Upper Deck Collector's Choice things, because if you grew up in the '90s, you knew about these. So, all right, the next thing I was very happy to find. So this next item I found was sitting on the shelf, and at first I thought it was just a top set. I don't typically buy too many top sets because they take up a lot of space, and I already have 2 or 3 different versions of them. But of course I found my micro set, so I had to make the exception. But I started looking through this box, and when I first picked it up, I'm like, well, that can't be a set because it's on 792 cards. Well, what I found out was these weren't the actual. This is all the cards that were there, and I put them in this box. They were in a paper bag, basically, wrapped plastic. So I couldn't really see anything but the top and bottom card. So after I pulled my phone out and did a little research on them, I figured out that they were the O-Pee-Chee version of the '83 top set. And if you don't know what O-Pee-Chee is, that is basically Canadian tops. Let me turn that light off. The Canadian top set. And O-Pee-Chee's been around for a very long time. I want to say through the late '60s is when they first appeared. And they printed O-Pee-Chee cards all the way up until the early '90s. O-Pee-Chee wound up creating its own set that weren't similar to the Topps versions later in the '90s. But what O-Pee-Chee typically did was the set was 396 cards. Well, everybody knows that it's 792 cards for a Topps complete set. So they more or less eliminated over half of the set to put them in a condensed version of the set in Canada, and that would be these cards. And again, I'm going to keep them off camera because we have these gym parallel examples here. But what I did was, after I got them out of the plastic, I went through and I made sure they're all there, of course. You know, that's what you have to do with the set. But I took every Hall of Famer. There's Rod Carew, just at random, I'm pulling out there. And I put a soft sleeve on them. So every Hall of Famer in the 83 set, I put a soft sleeve on at minimum. And I pulled these 5 out to put in top loaders because, to me, those are the best of the set. I mean, everybody else is in there that played in 83. Yastrzemski, Ricky Henderson, Dave Winfield, on down the list. I mean, Don Sutton, every Hall of Famer that played in 83 is in that set. Now, to talk a little bit more about the cards, I went out to the garage and found some of my 83 commons that I have out there, and I have, I'm sure you guys know what these are, but vending box from the 80s, and it has just 83 tops in it. And I've got a few of these laying around from various years, but this is not a sealed box. It's been sorted, I guess you would call it, and I just randomly pulled a few out of that box, and I pulled the Tommy John Super Vet out just so I can compare them side by side for you, to show you that the back of these cards also are a little lighter, the O-Pee-Chee version. You can see that the O-Pee-Chee logo is there, and they also say O-Pee-Chee Canada printing. But the biggest difference is they're in both English and French. So the cards have French on the back as well as English. You know, compared side by side there, you can see, you know, this is the same type of card. And you see the O-Pee-Chee logo up in the corner and the Topps logo up in the corner there. And these two are pretty sweet looking autographs. What am I talking about? I'm not doing an autograph video. But these are two pretty sweet cards. And this Nolan Ryan is beautiful. I mean, how often do you see the O-Pee-Chee Ryan? So just wanted to compare those two. Now this other one, I do not have an 83 Topps traded set, so I can't throw that into the mix. But this is just a common run-of-the-mill John Wathen card. You know, as you can see, the 83 logo on the back, and we'll compare again. You see the Topps logo and the O-Pee-Chee logo there. The card is less, you know, different card stock on the back. You know, it has different copyrights, 83 O-Pee-Chee, and you can clearly see the card shows a little more white, in my opinion, than the American counterpart. But I'm not going to get into too much detail about the sets and the differences. I might save that for another video. But the complete set was there, sitting on the shelf, in a plastic wrap is the best way I can describe it. This person wrapped it in plastic probably 30 years ago and left it in there. And it had a pretty pricey price tag on it, and the guy wanted 25 bucks for it. And the vendor happened to be there, and I said, will you take 20 bucks for it? And I was, you know, I try to give a fair price. I didn't offer him like 50 cents for it or anything like that. But I simply knocked 5 bucks off because I'm going to buy some of this other stuff from you too. And he said, sure. I wound up spending, you know, $40-something and some change, you know, on some other small sets that I bought from him that I posted in another video. But it came out to, you know, $40 and some, you know, some change, and, you know, he gave it to me for 20 bucks. And you know, I immediately got home and I started pulling the cards out, and unfortunately the Sandberg isn't in the best of shape. There's a few nicks up here in the corner. You know, it's kind of rough up there in that top corner, but it is a pretty decent condition card. The Gwyn, in my opinion, is in much better shape. I feel the centering's a little better, and the corners are a lot sharper on that than the Sandberg. But for 20 bucks, I couldn't hardly pass up an O-Pee-Chee set. How rarely do you ever see those in the United States, much less one of the probably best 80s sets that's out there. I mean, I know other people have their preferences, but I'm pretty sure this might be Ripken's first O-Pee-Chee card. Again, I would have to do research on that and figure that out, but I didn't see, at least in this set, many of the rookie cards, you know, like the multiplayer rookie cards or anything like that. As you can understand, there is more emphasis on Montreal and Toronto Blue Jays in the set, so I think there's, you know, a few cards that may not be, there may not be Topps versions of those cards because they're simply Canadian players with the Blue Jays or Expos. So, what do you guys think? Pretty good deal for 20 bucks. I mean, I feel the Gwynn and the Sandberg are worth, you know, that alone by themselves, maybe each. The Nolan Ryans are beautiful, and the Ripken's beautiful as well. So the entire set only cost me 20 bucks. I obviously had to find a box for it. Luckily, I had a 400 count box laying around. But in total, I'm very happy with this purchase. I'm glad you guys took the time to watch this with me. I might go into more detail about the O-Pee-Chee sets in the future. And thanks for watching, and I look forward to your comments below.